Welcome, everyone, to Coffee, Coaching, and Callings, a live podcast created for coaches, leaders, and helping professionals that are on a mission to lead a successful and heart-centered life. Your hosts today are Laurel Elders and Tabitha Danloe of the Institute for Integrative Intelligence, where it's our mission to elevate human potential through both the art and the science of masterful coaching. Today, we're going to be focusing on business success tips for coaches and helping professionals. And our topic for today is around the 5 blockages to business success for those of us that are that have a private practice and have our own coaching business. And Tabitha, I'm really interested to connect with you today about business success blockages because I know you have so much wisdom around this area and insight. And I haven't really seen many people talk about it from this angle. I've seen a lot, do this, do that, but sometimes there can be a blockage getting in the way of the successful, expansion. So I'd love to start with, would you share a little bit about your background and expertise in business and business success, basically?
Yeah. I have kind of an interesting journey finding my niche and being good at business. I was always a science major or a music major. Like I really thought my life was going to be kind of in a research lab, honestly. And during college, I joined Mary Kay Cosmetics as a part-time job to make some extra cash. With everyone saying this is dumb and you're not good at this and this is not you. But I just really fell in love with the company and the culture and the sisterhood and the products. I had really bad skin allergies, and the products were the first thing I found that worked for me. And so at 20, I joined Mary Kay as my part time college job. And by 21, I had earned a free Mary Kay car and became a sales director. Um, and so I discovered I had this really great knack for people and business and marketing and sales. And I just really love the well-rounded education I actually got in Mary Kay. When you plug in that much, you get a very good business kind of repertoire. And I did that for many years, really loved it, until I kind of started getting a little burnt out, wanted something new. And then I went into corporate America. So I kind of did a reversal. I went to corporate America after I had been an entrepreneur at a young age and worked first as a sales rep and then worked my way up to assistant sales manager and then sales manager and ran a team of about 25 sales reps on a call floor center and working in a science field, by the way. So that was funny that science finally caught up with me. But as a middle manager, I really worked very closely with upper management in the C-suite team, and then working with everyone kind of on the lower levels, if you will. And so in that role, I was very lucky to work strategically with everyone. So I got an even more well-rounded kind of education of direct experience working in corporate America, doing the financials, doing inventory, doing Q&A control, like all of it, every little aspect I got to touch, and I loved it. And so I feel very blessed as a coach to kind of take all those bits and pieces from corporate land and entrepreneur land and now putting it into my own coaching practice and then also all my clients. So that's the essence of my background, essentially.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because my experience of you is you grew your coaching practice relatively quickly compared to, myself. I struggled. I had probably each of these blockages at one point or another that we'll be discussing. So it was really impressive to me to see how you got the ball rolling and how now you help others get the ball rolling.
Yeah. I feel like part of that was being fortunate. It wasn't the first business I'd started. And so many of the coaches that I coach, it's the first time they've ever been an entrepreneur. It's the first time they've started a business. And we have to remember as entrepreneurs, we have this thing we do that we love, that we're trained in, that we're very passionate about, and that's coaching. And then we have running a business.
Yes. It's almost another learning curve for some folks, right? Yeah. Yes. And an important one too.
so important. And I just feel very lucky and blessed that like I learned all the hard knocks in my 20s.
Mhm.
And so I just was like, I could do both very quickly because I already
Mhm.
struggled through my success blocks earlier in different,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. And I heard somebody once say, and I thought this was pretty wise, or maybe intuitive, but somebody might wake up one morning and say, "Oh my gosh, I do need to hire a therapist or a lawyer or whatever, consultant." But it's coaching is such a relatively newer profession that not everybody would wake up and say, "I need to hire a coach today," because oftentimes they may not know what a coach is, or that they may not know that this solution, is out there. So I think that one thing I love about your approach and the work that we've done together is that it's like this really authentic way to get your coaching services out there and make connections that last a lifetime instead of a revolving door, approach where you're constantly having to go look for people, but that really solid heart-centered relationship building. So,
Yeah.
all right, 5 blockages. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. Number one, lack of confidence.
Mm, yep. I love that that's number one. I had a call with a client right before this podcast, and that's the number one thing that's holding him back is lack of
Mm,
confidence. He's so smart, he's so kind, he has all these really great things going for him, and it literally is this last little piece of confidence and belief. Like I think confidence is faith in yourself and belief in yourself as well, right?
mhm,
And also a love and acceptance of your authenticity
right.
is kind of what comprises confidence. And it's like it's so fun to see him and to know that if he can get that piece, I just know he'll be light years ahead of where he is now in his business, but he's not there yet.
Mhm. Well, and as a new coach, I think this one can be hard, right? Because we don't have as much experience. Um, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're getting out there. But I think the good news about if we do lack confidence is, one, we can stand on the shoulders of all of the ICF professional coaches that have really paved a very solid path based on competencies. It's a very solid skill set. So I think that's one nice thing.
Sure. Having the training that you can go through, having the
Mhm,
ICF is a huge way to gain that confidence. And I think plugging into your coaching colleague community, more and more. We have our
mhm,
alumni Facebook page, for example. I think plugging in with colleagues. I love going to lunch with some of the fellow coaches I've trained with
mhm,
and worked with, and I feel like we're kind of a different breed as coaches. We're not the competitive like I can't be friends with you tonight. Like I hate that. But it's like how can we help each other? Because there's plenty of abundance for all of us out there.
mhm.
And I think a lot of this is like also walking our talk. I know a lot of coaches who are not receiving coaching.
That's a good point.
And
That's a
I
good
think
point.
that I kind of made this decision for myself day one that I will always be in coaching, consistent
Mm,
coaching for my business, for myself. It might change what my focus is, but I don't know if I could ask my clients to do the same thing unless I'm walking that talk.
mhm,
And there's always something to grow with and work on. And so I know financially, a lot of coaches are like, well, I need to pick and choose. Once I have clients, I'll pay for more help with coaching or marketing to build my business. And it's almost like, well, but you need to do those things to get the clients, right? And so it could be that if this one's resonating you as you're listening, that ooh, I feel that imposter syndrome.
mhm.
That little inner voice is like, but why would they listen to me? Maybe that's your sign that this is your success blocker that's kind of
Mhm,
resonating and getting some help with that, whether that's a coach or even a therapist. Maybe there's
mhm.
something deeper even that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the other relief around lack of confidence is that, for me, anyways, was I was under the assumption that I had to like somehow be perfect because I was coaching others. And it's like, no, actually, not true. but it does require authenticity. It does require transparency and the ability to stay present with someone. And so I think that can be misunderstood too, that if I'm confident, I have to be perfect. And that's, I hope that's a relief to those that are, just starting out and dealing with the confidence piece.
Well, and to validate that statistically, at least in the sales and marketing fields, we know that when you are authentically making your videos on Facebook or going
Mhm.
live and they're not polished, is actually when they get more views. If you're making
Mhm.
a commercial like video, it's actually not helping.
Yeah.
Those are great for certain reasons,
Mhm.
but like in general, that more authentic, unpolished feel is what draws people to you.
Mhm.
So Laurel's totally right, and the statistics are there to back her up.
All right, we're ready for number 2.
Yeah.
Lack of a clear offer or a clear process.
Mm, yep, big one. So big.
That was me when I first started. I wanted to serve everyone, and I froze my first call for a potential. It was a referral, so I didn't know this person, and I choked. Instead of offering my packages that I'd pre-designed, I said something like, name your price, and it was like, no. And I don't know why I did that. I just had this freak out moment, and I realized you just need to offer clarity so that people can see very clearly the path to working with you and what it looks like exactly, right? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, when I'm coaching coaches on this, I think of it like this. You are the subject matter expert when it comes to how they can become a good client.
Mm,
As a coach, right? We're supposed, and we have all this training on like, let the client lead, let the client lead. The
mhm,
client has the agenda, the client has the wisdom, and that's totally true. But we have to coach them on how to be a good client. And that means actually stepping into consultant role just for a moment to
right. Yes.
through what it is that you do, how it is that you can help, and step one, step two, step three on how they get there. That's it.
Mhm. Yep.
And, and so it's funny. I feel this one hits a lot because they've just gone through all this training on like the client leads, the client leads. Well, the client's not the subject matter expert on how to become a good client. We got to teach them how to do that.
Yeah.
So, simple logistics, even on setting up a
Mhm.
discovery call or a free session or a free consultation, is a really big one. What that looks like, what happens if there's a form that gets filled out. And then if you want to work together, what's next? They need to sign contracts. That's an ICF code of ethics right there. Um, how do you schedule your first session? Is there additional forms? Are you doing an Enneagram test? How are you going to onboard this client? And so
Mhm.
having that process in place literally can become almost robotic of like,
Mhm.
they want to work together. Here's how it works: logistics, pricing, logistics, pricing, logistics,
Mhm.
pricing. And so I
Yeah.
think if we can set it up in such a clear way, the fear part of it can go away. It's like just repeat.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that is the business part. So there is that business part where you are creating the agreements and the contract and the offers. And one thing I always share with the coaching students at the school is your client is the expert of themselves, but you are the expert of coaching. And your client may not know what coaching is. And so there is a piece of that business piece of, educating the client. This is what coaching is. This is what coaching is not. These are the boundaries.
I find within this blocker, there's little pieces that might show up that you need to work on. So as you're
Mhm.
listening to this, if when you listen to my formula, if you will, step one, step two, step three, and you heard the word contract and you went, "Ugh, I don't like those." Oh, why? I don't want them to. That's what I'm talking about. If you feel that moment, that's a really important thing to look at because it might be a piece within this piece that's actually the blockage.
Mhm.
Oftentimes it's around money. A lot
Mhm.
of coaches go into this field to be of service, to help. And so the money piece can become cloudy. Money is simply a tool. Money is just money. People are what has made it gross sometimes, right? People and intentions and unkind things are what has made money itself bad at times. But money is not good or bad. It's just a tool. And so it's sometimes I found that within this piece, someone needs to work on their relationship with money,
Mhm.
their relationship with contracts to clear whatever little blockage they have in that piece to clear the whole piece. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I really struggled with that one in the beginning because I did want to be of service, and I was working with single parents and at-risk teens in support groups. So to take money for what I felt was like my service didn't feel good in the beginning. And I had to work through that and get to the point where it was actually such a blessing to have that exchange of here's a service that's going to have results for a lifetime, right? That's what I love about coaching. It's a short-term investment with I mean, it goes with you. The results go with you. But getting to that point of it's not even just okay. It's such a blessing to have that exchange that took some coaching.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. So number 3 is mindset and internal blockages. This is, I think, this can be a big one because what I've seen is sometimes those things are back here, not necessarily in our conscious way of being. So I think they're a little bit harder to catch. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think this is the number one.
Hmm.
Will you say it again so people can really hear this?
Mindset and internal blockages.
So, part of why I wanted you to repeat this is that I think everyone's like, oh, I'm really positive. That's not me. Whoomp. And that's a really perfect example of how that internal messaging can sometimes be our sabotage because externally, we might check all the boxes of a positive mindset, but we're not really paying attention to the internal voice, the internal message of that inner critic voice. And sometimes it is so deep within that we haven't gotten into our conscious awareness yet. And so I love Laurel teaches this, is talking about our limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
And our beliefs are such our deepest held truths. And so this is where I love to do what I consider kind of the deepest coaching work with business owners. And it has to be coaching, even if I'm doing some consulting on helping them set up a business.
Mhm.
We always have to visit this one. I think this is the number one for everyone. And even if they're having a lot of success, I find that this one is how people get to their next level of success.
Mm.
So I feel like there's a lot here, and it's way deeper than just having a positive mindset. It's what is that deeper internal voice saying in terms of your limiting beliefs? One
I
of,
could
oh, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, this the most common one I hear is the belief that I can't make more money and work less,
Mhm.
especially if you are an American. Like this concept has been really, driven home of like, work hard, work hard, work hard, make your money, work till the day you die. And we have these little messages. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You're going to work like a dog till the day you die and pay your taxes and that's it. I think of all these little things I heard from my grandparents or from
Mhm.
teachers, right? And those little messages get in there deeply. And we have to look at that sometimes to either get to our first level of success or other levels as we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And I really resonate with what you're saying. I was thinking back on, I think one of the negative consequences of the positive thinking movement is that we started to ignore what's
Mhm,
back here,
mhm,
just ignore it and cover it up. And yet there's a Sufi teaching that really touched me. I know we talk about this one a lot, is that your heart or fear has a message to it. It's not necessarily bad. So if we ignore what we're afraid of, we're actually missing an opportunity. But it's half of a message. It's not the full message. Your heart has the full message. So if we're ignoring the fear and not connecting with the heart, we're missing the opportunity to go deeper into unlodging what could be the mindset block or the internal blockage that, we can be unconscious of. So I couldn't agree with you more that it takes a deeper reflection for this one. That's my
I
experience.
I love this teaching, and you were the first to share this teaching with me when I was a student way back when, which feels a really long time ago now. Like we're not that old, but it's one of my favorite teachings because I just feel like it's so authentically true.
Mm.
And our society, our world, even the instant gratification we get from social media and scrolling, which I do, by the way, like love it, the dopamine hit, get it, but it all pushes these uncomfortable feelings back further and further.
Mm.
And also this morning, I've done a lot of work before a podcast this morning. I was on a call with another client and she was saying she felt like she wanted to cry, but she didn't want to.
Mm.
And so I just let her know as her coach, like she could cry if she wanted to or not. It's up to her. But I said, what's the fear in crying? What's the hesitation? And so after we went through a pretty big emotion, this really amazing um, epiphany was revealed. And so that's the funny thing. I think we all can agree as coaches witnessing this, being the witness to this, is in that discomfort is the creation,
Mm.
right? So that's the heart with the other half of the message is like, if we're willing to face this difficult thing, and I'm with you guys, I don't like it at all. You'd think I'd be better at it. Maybe I think I just accept it more like, oh, this is going to suck and rip the band-aid, so maybe I'm better at it in that sense nowadays, but it's just like that's where like the wisdom lives is after that discomfort and the growth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's funny that both have to happen.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And I know Kristen and I were talking about wholeness in one of the podcasts, and we were really discussing how wholeness means we include all of it. We include the messy and the uncomfortable and the fears, like it all gets included,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And it's wonderful and and uncomfortable, and it's all of it. Yeah.
Love it.
So tips on if somebody senses they might be stuck in mindset or have an internal blockage.
I mean, this has to be coaching and therapy. You have to have a guide here because if you haven't done it already, you're probably not going to do it without some external help. Maybe it's a book. There's
Mhm.
so many great books on Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, or The Big Leap. I
Mhm.
know we
Mhm.
both have read that book and love that. But getting some type of guidance here is key because as humans, we can do so much self reflection, but we need that mirror outside of ourselves through books, through people, coaches, therapists, whatever, to help us go a little deeper and to see the
Mhm.
things that we're not seeing.
Right. Right. And I would love to add to that. In my experience, this one can be a spiritual
Yeah.
piece. There can be a spiritual piece to this one. And I know for me, when I got involved in that positive thinking, I would show up and do my little law of attraction exercise and I would think it, but I wouldn't be it and I wouldn't feel it.
Yeah.
And I was really afraid of it as I was saying the words. And that was not working. So there's always this disconnect until I did the spiritual work and boom, alignment, boom. All of a sudden I'm making connections. And as an introvert, I don't go out and network and speak like Tabitha does. So that for me was a complete game changer. Like everything shifted.
Right. And when I say outside of yourself, spiritual can also be a moment of that, right? It's
Mm.
that pausing to let something else in.
Mhm.
So it just seems like we can't fully just do it ourselves. I actually, it's funny we're talking about this because recently I've been thinking about, sorry, that's my dog. I like to have my dogs with me so much. So I was reflecting on like a lot of Brene Brown's work with shame
Mhm.
and vulnerability, and how I feel, and this is my belief, and I'm definitely
Right.
not here, we're talking about spirituality,
Right.
insert your belief here kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel like we're such spiritual beings here having a human experience, and so I'm like, how interesting that we have to reflect with other human beings through connection, through support, in order to kind of up level our spiritual experience by
Mhm.
reading books, by connecting in all these different ways. It could be quietly as an introvert or loudly as an extrovert. You pick you, but we kind of need each other in that sense to go deeper
Mhm.
and to
Yeah.
go deeper into our spirituality. It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
it really is.
Yeah. So
All right. So that is number 3. And number 4 is lack of focus.
big one.
And I'll give you an example. Again, I think I've done every single one of these.
I
um,
have too. I think we all have.
and my lack of focus was like, there's so many things I want to do. And I kept tweaking my website and I kept changing my business cards. And I kept, I thought, oh, if I just have the right title, and I was just all over the place
Yep.
and not focused on this is what I do, that clarity piece too, right? It's kind of all connected. This is what I do. This is how I work. This is what I offer. This is what I do. This is how I work. And just staying really hyper focused in one direction, one step in front of another.
Yep. I see this a ton. I see
Mm,
this unfocused with what am I doing? What am I working on? Unfocused with time. A lot of people went from the structured corporate
mm,
9 to 5 job where someone else plugged in the structure and now they're an entrepreneur, and they have not created that calendar structure for themselves. And so they wake up, they think they're going to do XYZ in the day, and then they turn around and it's 3 o'clock and they're still in their pajamas. And you know what I mean? I know you guys know what I'm talking about out there.
I might still do that sometimes,
I
but
mean, sometimes. I also, since the pandemic and the pajama, I am wearing jeans today, so I'm not wearing my pajama bottoms, but some I am. So the other piece of this that I think is really critical, and this goes back to like our passion and our training and being a coach versus being a business owner,
Mm,
is what kinds of things are we focusing on? And I really teach the principle of income producing activities or non income producing activities. And it's very easy to get lost and to feel safe and to feel like we're
mhm,
doing a lot in the non income producing activity side of things, which is website building, filing, setting up forms, setting up systems, creating content. All that is important for our businesses, but it's not income producing.
well, and there's an overdoing that can happen, right? Versus I've got it all set up. Um,
Yep.
and I've learned how to language, right? That's, I think, really important is, are you connecting with people through your languaging as well? But then it's like, oh, I don't have clients yet, so I'm going to start tweaking my website, and overdoing on that part can actually take away from you making those connections and marketing yourself.
You bet. Because income producing activities are kind of a small handful of things that are sales and marketing.
Mm,
And so it's marketing yourself, meeting with clients, meeting with potential new clients, doing anything marketing or sales related. That's it. Those are
yeah.
your producing activities.
Connecting with referral sources,
Yep, that's
building those relationships, that can be huge.
wonderful. You bet.
Hmm.
And it's funny if we look at this from a law of attraction standpoint. Like if we look at all these 5 things that we're taking a look at today in terms of energy and
Hmm.
law of attraction, where you put your focus is law of attraction, right? Like
Yes.
such the basic essence of it. And
Yeah.
so if you're focusing on non-income producing things, whatever they may be, what are you asking for? And so even if you hate this for now, because pretty much everyone does at the beginning, they're like, Tabitha, why do you want to make me go talk to people? Don't clients just magically appear? No, they don't. I'm sorry. But once we get we get a little comfortable. We do it several times. It's like anything else. It's building muscles.
Mhm.
Time and practice gets it easier.
Mhm.
But you put your focus in the income producing, what's the universe going to bring you? Income.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. But yet,
Yeah.
like you said, we'll distract ourselves and over focus. And I'm just going to tweak my website again. Oh, yeah, I think I want to change my logo colors. And I'm going to get all these things set up that don't actually bring me a single client.
Well, and it confuses people. I remember I joined BNI early on as a coach, and I got referrals, but I would show up. No, I didn't know the marketing piece yet. So I'd show up each week like, I work with leaders. I help you with wellness. Like it was so disjointed. I think it confused people because the whole jack of all trades is master of none. So I wasn't right. I was coming across like divided. So that can also be that lack of focus piece. And I thought I was like casting a wider net, right? I thought it was effective in learning. Not at all. That's good.
Yeah.
Focus on one
Yeah.
thing at a time.
I was at a networking meeting yesterday and a woman said, I'm looking for anyone who eats food. And I could tell she was very like smiling and she thought she'd been clever. And she was. I mean, that was a
Mhm.
clever, fun way to say something. But then you could tell as she kept talking. I felt that anxiety, even of like, I don't know what you want from me.
Mm,
I want to help you. I like what you're saying. Everyone eats food.
mhm.
So everyone is not your client.
Right.
Impossible. A, you don't have time for that. B, you might not like them.
Mhm.
C, they might need therapy, not coaching. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
reasons why
Mhm.
everyone's not your client. So specific actually does help.
I couldn't agree more. And I that is so linked to not just focus in your business, but focus on your ideal client.
Yep.
Focus on connecting with your ideal client.
Yeah. And I'll add here, because Laurel and I talk about this a lot, focus can also be your niche. Are you
Mhm.
choosing to niche as a coach or not? If you're not, you need a really solid marketing plan.
Mhm. Referral sources, et cetera, right? Because it's harder to make that connection when you're speaking to so many people.
And even then,
It
you
can be, doesn't have to be.
can be, but niching can be a great place to start if you don't have one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Number 5, lack of follow-up.
Mm, yeah.
So there was a study that I came across that the research was done on therapists that were wildly successful versus really trying to get by and grow their clientele. And what they found was they were tracking, and it wasn't that these successful therapists had this much more education or this much more anything. It was that they followed up. They cared. So their relationships were stronger and they would get more referrals. So they were just, it like started to grow itself because they cared. Authentic connection and care relationship.
Yeah. I love this one because this to me is where I say so lovingly, my coach clients complain, Tabitha, but I did it. I went to this networking thing and, I followed up with this lady and I didn't hear back. And I'm like, that's so awesome. Good job. Yay. And they're like, why are you excited? I'm like, because you followed up. And they're like, but nothing happened. I'm like, how many times did you follow up? They're like, well, just the one time. I'm like, great. Just out of curiosity, do you respond to everyone on the first time? No,
No.
none of us do. I don't. We are in the greatest time period we've ever had of inundation. We are overwhelmed constantly by things that are demanding our attention. How many emails did y'all get on Black Friday? How many emails did y'all get leading up to Black Friday? Like, I still haven't cleared out all of them fully. Like, it's too much nowadays. I actually really dislike this. So, it's not just following up, but it's following up consistently.
Mhm. Yeah.
And statistically, we do have data that it takes about 7 layers for someone to make a buying decision. And that doesn't necessarily mean becoming your client. It might mean meeting with you for your complimentary consultation or discovery call or session to see if they want to be a client.
Mhm.
So it's more than one follow up. And that's, I think, the key here is that people think that they're doing follow ups and they're not doing it consistently or
Mhm.
not doing it frequently. I also have people like, well, Tabitha, I have followed up 3 times. I'm like, that's awesome. Walk me through when they were and what you said. And lo and behold, they followed up once every 2 months. Well, that's a little too long, right?
Mhm.
That's too
Yeah,
much.
depending on,
Right.
right. Yeah.
Unless someone's like, hey, check back with me in a couple months,
Mhm.
that'd be different. But, if we're just trying to create that momentum, maybe we need a little sooner,
Mhm.
once a quarter or once every couple months.
Well, and another thing that a tip is we can schedule follow-ups.
Totally.
Would you, if someone isn't sure if coaching is the right time, we can say, would you like me to check back with you in 2 weeks or a month? But scheduling it out so you have that permission. I think I see a lot of coaches, myself included, when I was starting out, I was like, oh, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to, you know, sell myself. But follow up is so important to maintain that connection. And oftentimes, again, just my experience is that somebody will want to work with you, but life gets busy. And if you don't do the follow up, they go, oh my gosh, I really meant to do it. Is a priority, but things happen.
Absolutely. We're all super busy. And so follow up can be very helpful. I'm really grateful when someone keeps bugging me. And I, by the way, don't think about it as bugging. I'm like, oh, thank goodness they're reminding me. I
Same.
I need to get that done. Okay, great. Yeah. And if you're worried about bugging someone or if you're worried about being a burden, you will never be a burden. The people who are truly like the gross, salesy, annoying people have no idea that they are. Oh, if you're worried about that, don't worry anymore because you will never come across that way because you're worried about it. So that
Good point.
gives you some relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
also
oh, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I also love when people follow up with me, other professionals that I'm reaching out to, because it means that they care to work with me. And that makes me so excited. And I'm like,
Yeah,
yes, that's,
I totally agree with that. My
Mhm.
my last two little pointers would be remember there's different ways of following up with people.
Mm.
If email's not working, that might be your preferred method of communication, but not theirs. So try a text message, try an old school phone call, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DM. Like there's a lot of options nowadays.
Yeah.
Try it out. Even recently with a client, because everyone's inundated, we've been testing out doing audio text messages or
Hmm.
a video text message integrated with written text. So look at that, right? So you can get really creative here in how you do your follow-ups. And then the last tip I'd say is if you are someone who's already struggling with focus, do you need to use automation tools to help you with your follow-up? There's a ton of amazing softwares out there that can really streamline this process, including if you get permission and someone's like, yeah, that'd be great, check back in a month. Write the email now, write the text message now, and schedule it to be sent, so that you don't forget
Hmm.
because we are busy.
Yes. Yes. So true. All right. So on the other, so those are the five: lack of confidence, lack of clear offer or process, mindset or internal blockages, could be lack of focus or the lack of follow-up. So just looking, are there any of those blockages? And what I love about blockage, the term blockage, it's like once you remove it, it opens the door. So I think that's what's on the other side, which is wonderful. So success formula. These are the 4 C's. I'm going to own this as what I've seen work. So obviously it's not the end all, but clear. So clarity, contract, process, what we were talking about. Confident. If you're not confident in yourself, how can others be confident in you?
Mhm.
and getting support on that if you're not feeling that confidence. Consistent, so staying focused, have a consistent offer, because sometimes people have to hear it multiple times. So if you switch directions, they might be right at that moment of like, oh, I did one. Oh no, now they're doing something else. So consistency and care, going back to making those connections and building relationships, not focusing on, oh, I've just got to go make clients. Build relationships, especially those referral partners where it's a synergistic thing where you're helping serve them and they are helping serve you. It's not a competition. It's two industries that are working well together. That can also be really impactful. Is there anything that you would add to the 4 C's? Or yeah, 4 C's.
I really love those. I think consistency is so key. You can be doing things even not as efficiently or
Mm-hmm.
fumbling and still have results if you're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And this I see a ton as people who start for a month and they're really good for a month and then they don't see results thinking that they're suddenly going to have this amazing giant 20 clients after a month of work, and then they stop, and then 3 months later they stop, and it's like, no, you have to be very consistent to go from here to here with clients in any industry. So I would just really reinforce, like, even if you're fumbling, even if you feel uncomfortable, even if the words aren't quite coming out of your mouth right yet, that's okay. Be consistent, keep going, it'll get better.
Yeah, and consistent also includes following up.
Yep.
Consistent follow up.
So yeah, I'd say consistent, like, number one there.
Yeah, nice. All right, so we're almost at time, but before we wrap up, I did want to have just a quick 2-minute buyer beware.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
um,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, I mean, do you want to dive into this one or?
Okay, y'all, please do not spend gobs of money on anything that says this will make you six figures. There's no one size fits all for perfect marketing. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. It can't, because what's
Right.
authentic to you is going to be authentic to someone else very differently. And marketing is an extension of your authentic brand, especially if you're a coach. And so, yes, some of those programs can get you some money quickly, but you will also have a reputation that you're building. You will have some clients with buyer's remorse that try to get their money back. I have too many friends that are coaches that have dropped life savings on things that didn't work. And it's devastating to see that they kind of, what is it called? The bait and switch, they
Yep, bait and switch, also overcharging. This is a whole movement. That's why we're adding the buyer beware, because there's or somebody is selling an approach that worked for them, which means you have to have their personality, their background, their experience, their brain wiring for their formula to work for you. And yet they're selling it at this mega high price tag. And so people are walking away depleted. And so just be careful if you are looking at marketing training. Make sure that it helps support you in your authenticity and your unique approach. It should be customized and adaptable, but still stand on solid principles, right?
correct.
Because there's certain success principles that work. Some of them, we've illuminated today, but so just a little note on that. Do be careful out there.
How they're going to get you to is they're going to play on your fear that
Mm,
you need this. And this is going to be the shortcut that gets you to six figures without the discomfort. That's just not true. It's just not true. Sorry,
yeah,
you're going to have to go through some uncomfortable moments to build a business.
yeah.
Man, on the other side of that discomfort is such reward and such
Hmm.
beauty.
Yeah.
So, like, just hang on for the ride. There is no shortcuts to building a business.
Yes. Yes. And there's so many amazing programs out there that are solid. They don't cost an arm and a leg, and they'll get you 10 times further.
Sure. And
So,
I want to take one thing back. The one
mhm.
secret sauce I will tell you is law of attraction,
Mm,
but doing it authentically and not manipulatively. That
right.
that can shorten that can give you some of that shortcut, but not all of it. So you still got to do some hard work in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Take the action part as well. Good energy plus action.
Correct.
Yeah.
Equal success. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much, Tabitha. I hope for those of you tuning in today that this has been illuminating and a lantern to your path as you expand your success as a coach, leader, or helping professional. If you'd like to join the conversation further, please visit us at integrativeintelligence.global. Bye for now. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.